kids, today's video is going to be about how and why I went vegan.
Because of me!
That actually was. Shannon had done a food blood allergy test, and it came back that she was allergic to a few things. One of the things that she was allergic to was dairy, just all kinds of dairy. So for me, I was just like floored, because I'm like, oh my gosh, that means we have to take out like whey protein powder and milk and yogurt and all this stuff. Oh my god, like that's so terrible. Like this is just like the worst thing ever because it's so good for you and blah blah blah. And it was really upsetting to me. And then I thought, well, gosh, like maybe I should go in and get like checked out myself. So I went in and I got a food blood allergy test right here. Look at the dairy. Yeah. This should like be down here. So this basically tests for IgG and IgE, which are basically antibodies, and basically what that is triggering your immune system. So this test right here is a whole panel of all kinds of different foods, but the focus on this was dairy. So people would say, okay, you know, some of those tests are kind of accurate, sometimes they're not and everything, but it's not necessarily the point of the whole accuracy thing. It's where I'm just explaining of all these different things of how I got to where I became totally vegan. So I saw that, then I thought to myself, yikes. So my doctor at the time that had done the whole test and said, hey, you need to get off the dairy. You know, it's and I explained all these different things that I had, you know, like inflammation, joint issues, just different things like that. And he had said, you got to get off the dairy. It's a huge thing that's probably going to affect you greatly as far as getting off that. So that was one thing. Then the second thing, which really hit home, and literally, like I have to tell you this, I like just lost it, and I just broke down and started like crying, legit, like just lost it. Was and in my very first video, I actually explained this part, but when I was like 22 or 21, they found a grade 1 cancer tumor in my bladder. And so my doctor, this doctor that did the blood allergy test, he said, look, like I know you have, you know, or had a history of this back when you were younger. I have a lot of studies that show a link between, you know, milk and dairy, you know, consumption and cancers and different like bladder cancers and stuff. And I just, you know, and let me go back, and I explained this in another video, but when I was 22, they were like, okay, well, did you smoke weed? No, I didn't. Do you smoke cigarettes? No, I don't. Do you, you know, work in factory? Well, no, I didn't. So all these things kind of came up and whatnot, and they were all basically eliminated. And so it kind of just came to this conclusion of no conclusion. Like, well, we don't know how long it was there. We don't really know what caused it. So when the doctor told me that, there's no way of guaranteeing knowing specifically how you got like a cancer all the time. Like it might happen, you're not going to always get the answers. But it was so upsetting to me that at the age of 35 or 36, I don't know, I'm just trying to focus on this video, that whole time of my whole life, like nobody had mentioned anything. And I take this blood allergy test, I find out that stuff, and that was just like step one. So then I thought, gosh, there's got to be some more to this. So as Shannon started kind of adjusting things before I switched over my diet, I ate everything, but I was like crazy with stuff, and you know, like I was the grass-fed beef guy, the organic milk. Before I switched over, I was drinking non-homogenized, full-fat milk. You had to shake it up because there was chunks at the top. Like I was like that natural. I was like as natural state as I can get. Organic, free-range chicken, free-range eggs, fucking this and that and all of that. I was like that guy. So, and that's what I thought at the time was like the best stuff. But of course, as you learn and research and as things start to come in light, you adjust things all the time. So with that said, like I was very knowledgeable with, you know, food and antibiotics and the hormones and all that stuff, but I didn't necessarily realize, you know, during some of that research, as I started to kind of transition over, when I got the blood allergy test, I remember going in and getting some beef, and I was like, hey, I just want to make sure that I think it's like at Whole Foods actually, and I said, I want to find some red meat or whatever beef that doesn't have any growth hormones added. And he's like, well, they have. He's like, okay. He's like, well, all of these meats, they don't have added growth hormones, but they do have hormones in them. And it was another one of those moments where I'm like, wait, what? What do you mean it has hormones? And it's like, okay, yeah, because it's flesh, it's meat, it's from an animal, like it naturally has hormones. And it kind of stumped me a little bit, and I'm like, well, no, I'm just getting this great beef and no antibiotics, and they don't add the hormones, so it's just so good. So it was like all these like little things that started happening because I started reading like crazy, and I always read a ton like with food stuff before. It just hadn't really hit me. So you guys saw this thing here. So then from there, my fiance had the first one that I read was the China study. I'm sure everybody knows about the China study. Now remember, I'm not saying, well, Campbell I think is a really smart guy. So remember, these are steps. And I'm not saying that the blood allergy test is 100% perfected. I'm not saying that the China study book is 100% perfected. The other books I'm going to show you, I'm not saying that every single thing in there. It's just all the different like things that I've seen and read and watched on the internet and all these other stuff that has come to me, which has taken me to the level of taking all the animal products out. So I read that book, and the China study was the one big one. The huge thing with this is the dairy thing. So the dairy and the milk and the protein from that was a huge thing as far as like cancer stuff. And that really hit hard with me because I had the blood allergy for dairy. I had the bladder cancer when I was younger, and then I started reading this. And it kind of all started to come together. And then at the same time, I started like watching more videos about all kinds of different, animal proteins and stuff. And then the next book, as I was in the process, I read 80-10-10 Diet. And once again, kind of like I said, there's some good information in here. Some of it is a little bit kind of crazy, but these are all books that I started reading these weren't just like the things that I focused on. Like I said, there was a ton of other things that I was reading and watching as I was going along too. And then I came across probably the most controversial book is this one. This one is actually the encyclopedia, the Eat Right for Your Type. This one, this is like, I could do a whole other video about this and the controversy behind it, but this thing right here, this is a very interesting book to me. A lot of doctors and stuff don't agree with it as far as the blood type, but it talks about lectins, and that was interesting to me. And basically, A, like type A blood. So then I get that book, the encyclopedia, the blood type diet book. And basically that one has like 4 different types, like, you should be eating meat, and you should be eating a blend of meat and grains, and this one is grains and everything else. So that book right there, again, said, blood A type diet. Get the hell off of any kind of dairy. No dairy at all. And then on that book, it also says it's best, blood type A does well, or the best, on a vegan, vegetarian diet, basically. So that, like I said, is most controversial book, and I'm not saying that I believe everything in that book. I'm just saying all these different things start to kind of come together. So basically, I started taking out dairy, which was like the first thing. The inflammation started going away. I wasn't as puffy anymore. I didn't have the joint problems, so it was like immediately like a huge thing. But I didn't gradually change. I just was like, okay, I'm done. Took out everything all at once. And so I didn't slowly change over, and I don't know if I'd necessarily recommend that for somebody coming from a full-blown like heavy meat diet and stuff. It just really depends on kind of where you're at. Like if you're eating just like the worst diet ever and junk food and stuff, trying to just do black and white and just stop completely, probably not the easiest, best thing to do. But start somewhere, and you can start slow. I just like eliminated everything all at once. So that's kind of my thing, and it was on a health basis. But then once I started reading more, and like, you gotta remember, this is all from like reading and researching and learning and listening and seeing what other people are doing, and all the ideas that I had before of like, oh, there's only protein in meat. No, that's not true. Oh, there's only, certain minerals and stuff and vitamins in this or that or whatever. No, that's not true. uh, your body makes cholesterol. I mean, all these different, there's like a million things I can go into. But started to realize, just basically opened my eyes, and the meat and dairy industry are huge, huge pushers, and they have a ton of money. And it's no wonder that you grow up thinking, well, it's milk, you gotta drink your milk, man. But I'm not gonna try and go into all that stuff, because, like I said, I already have specific videos on milk and this and that. I'm just trying to like focus on like how and why I ended up becoming vegan. And so to kind of get back to like what I was saying, is it started for the health thing, but as I'm reading with the health concerns and the health reasons, that you should have more fruits and vegetables in your diet, and you should be taking out less, like, meat and all that stuff. I started to realize and read more and understand more of how terrible of an industry it is, and how much pain and torture and stuff animals have to go through and endure, just so I can have a snack. I don't, and so I started to realize that, it was like, we use animal products for so much stuff, like, hey, and I still have animal products as stuff, some of my shoes and belts and all that stuff, because I still have it from years, but I'm not going to just throw everything away. But I started to realize, like, do I want to be a part of slaughtering an animal just so I can have, I don't know, like some cool like leather jacket or something, or just some like little like trinket of something. It's like, I don't want to be a part of any of that. Okay, we can produce and make so many different things out of all kinds of materials these days. I don't want to be a fucking part of any. I don't want to contribute any money to like any of that stuff, because there's other alternatives. And so then it became part of, there really became, a thing for animals and stuff. And we don't live in a perfect country and perfect world and everything else. We're still going to need, animals for different things here and there. And but, doing what you can and eliminating products that you don't need to use from an animal is going to be huge. Am I saying that we're never going to have to kill any animal ever again for any kind of reason? No, absolutely not. But I'm doing a huge part on my end. And then the other part too is like the last part of it was reading how much and learning how much damage we're doing to the environment and the planet by some of the these animals. So that's kind of like how it went for me. And I think, like, so when you talk about most people like being vegan and the hows and the whys, it really all starts to blend together. They start with something. They're like, fucking health reasons. I don't really give a shit about the animals, but I'm doing it for my health. Then as they start to like get involved and they start to make those choices, they start to realize, like, man, like, I don't want to be involved with the killing of this just so I can have a cool belt or something, or I don't know, whatever. Or, you start with the animal cruelty, and maybe you don't care about your health, but it all starts to usually go together. So somebody who's on a plant-based diet, if you say, well, why, or what's the reason, or what are you doing? Well, it usually kind of ends up being like a whole broad thing. So I think that's basically about it. This video is way longer than I had planned and anticipated, but I wanted to kind of try to give you guys a general overall thing. And it doesn't really matter what you read or where I don't want to say, or let me see, it doesn't necessarily matter what books you're reading or whatever, unless they're completely like just totally fictional and make no sense and have no value at all. But it's the process. I shared with you guys basically the processes of how I got to where I was at. Not necessarily that I agreed with every single book and everything that I read and take it for exact value and stuff. It's just more thoughts and processes. And as you all know, when you're educating yourself, you read something, You might not like gain a lot from that, but it might bring more questions. And then you can take those questions and take it and do some more research. And then once you learn more, you take that information and you can take it to the next level. And you start to find it and get all these, you know, pieces of information. You take them all and then you start to consolidate them. What's real? What's fiction? What's good? What's bad? What can I use? What can I throw away? And that's really what it's about. So anyways, if you guys have any questions for me, let me know in the box below. Tried to put this, like I said, this was a year and a half ago, so I tried to kind of put it in the right place of sort of exactly kind of how things went. But I switched over my diet in, I want to say, I guess March of 2014. And yeah, and I have, you know, I just changed all basically like at once at the same time. So hope you guys are having a great day, and hopefully this video, I don't even know if it was helpful necessarily, but maybe it gave you guys some information if you're curious about me or my life or some choices that I've made and how and why. Okay, I'll talk with you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye.